Hello, I'm Gregory Mosley, martial art instructor, and this is Martial Art Universe, bringing you the finest of the martial arts from around the world. Point.
If you look at the evolution of mixed martial arts, first it was Gracie Jiu-Jitsu when everybody was on the ground. Now people are moving away from the ground fighting. They want to stand up, more. They want to fight up. And eventually they need more stand-up stuff. So where are they going to get that? They have to go back to the traditional styles.
If I grab a person, he reacts. If I punch, he reacts to the punch. But if I grab the person twice, his brain mantis is about sticking. If I grab the person twice, he reacts, and I haven't done anything yet. So now...
That was Sifu Carl Albright, one of the most senior American masters of Chinese martial arts. I attended a program at St. Francis College in Brooklyn, New York, called A Kungfu Master's Journey. The program featured Sifu Carl Albright and was hosted by film producer Warrington Hudlin, who is the administrator of the Martial Art Community on Facebook group page.
What about martial art movies? How many people like martial art movies? You can throw hands on these. Seen movies? Anybody see the old movies, like the 1970s, the old classics? Where everybody's just making noise, flying on building to building, all that kind of good stuff. Bring back good memories. It's nostalgic. There was a time though where nobody knew, Americans in particular, didn't know anything about martial arts. They never studied. It wasn't available to them. When martial arts first got available to the public, it was around the late 60s for most. A few people in the early 60s. And then it was judo. Maybe a few people got into karate. But the Chinese martial arts was considered closed doors. In other words, no Americans. We won't teach you. I actually had to learn Chinese to actually gain entree to a lot of these places. By saying, it means that I speak Chinese. So that was an open door policy. Oh, well, this guy must, he's part of our culture. He went the extra mile. He made the extra step. So, enabled me to come in. However, I traveled all over the world, 12 years in China, Hong Kong, Japan, Philippines. And one thing I always say, no matter where I went, no matter what I learned, I wanted to know one thing: is it going to work in Brooklyn? Okay, that's what I need to know, because that's where I'm from. I'm from Bed-Stuy. Okay, I'm a Bed-Stuy kid. Back when Bed-Stuy was Bed-Stuy. When I talk about the old days, how bad Bed-Stuy was, not like it is today. Today, of course, it's getting better and more gentrified. But at one time, shootings, gangs, whatever, it's common. So martial arts was a way for me and other people to take a positive route, to get out of the streets, keep us off drugs, keep us out of gangs, keep us out of trouble. And it also helped me to get to go worldwide and travel, but also helped me to touch a lot of different things that a lot of people are not even aware of that I touch. There's a lot of things in culture that people have seen and you don't know I'm a part of it. Anybody ever watch American Idol? My grandson was top 8 in an American Idol episode. Made it all the way to top 8. Anybody ever see Stomp? Stomp is on St. Mark's in the Village, where they eat the garbage cans and they make music by playing percussion with everything. My son is a 20-year member of Stomp, one of the original members, one of the first members when they started Stomp here in New York. Anybody remembers the old school? You see hip hop, when they talk about pop rock and top rock, that's where they pretend to fight when they're doing, breakdancing, as we call it, or b-boying. Well, I'm part of that culture, because I used to teach at community centers in the Bronx, and they adopted a lot of that culture of martial arts into dancing.
You make a good point about the cross-fertilization between martial arts and hip-hop, pop culture. For example, I'm wondering, why did Grandmaster Flash call himself Grandmaster?
That's an obvious martial arts reference now. And also the dance And the addition to martial arts, like you say, we have Wu-Tang Clan. You know, there's a lot of pop references to martial arts in music industry and dance industry. And in fact, sometimes you'll see, so you think you can dance, you see some of their routines are martial arts based.
So, but now, RZA and the Wu-Tang Clan, their martial art, can you see okay?
Yes.
Okay, I find it very much Shaw Brothers rooted, and which is, of course, an artistic license with traditional martial arts. So as a traditional martial art practitioner, were you at all disturbed by his revisionist understanding of Shaolin Temple and Chinese traditions?
Well, martial arts is constantly going through revisions, and as society changes, as culture changes, the approaches and the views on martial arts will also change. So, you know,
but I'm talking about straight up fictional artistic licenses, like, huh? It didn't go like that. That was I was always kind of, and I've talked to Riz about this, you know, and that depiction of the Shaw Brothers, of the history of Shaolin, is not the history of Shaolin.
Well, you know, Shaw Brothers, many of those movies were, you know, the thing about those movies is some of them were based on real histories. Some of them were based on things that actually happened in real people and obviously fictionalized. Many of the people that worked in Shaw Brothers were real martial artists. They weren't just actors. Many were actors. They didn't have any martial arts experience, and they were able to pull it off on the screen. There were plenty of people that would tell you, I don't know anything. I just did what they told me, and it looks good. And if you see those movies, you would think they're, you know, and it's all fiction, so you believe.
I'm sure there was somebody in the movies that was authentic of the guys on the screen. Who were the ones who really could do it in real life?
Well, people like Laga Long and Laga Hoy, you know as Gordon Liu in the film industry.
Master Killer.
Right, Master Killer, right? Master Killer, 36 Chambers, and many others, Fist of the White Lotus. Oddly enough, many of the Kungfu movies that we call them today, they were karate practitioners. It's amazing how many of those people, like Carter Wong, you know, I went to Hong Kong, and I went to see Carter Wong, and I said, hey, you know, where's your school? Well, come meet me, we'll go here. And I go, this karate school. You know, I completely expect to be Kung Fu school. It makes you know, Philip Ko, you know, karate. You know, there's many of the practitioners, they were karate based. Sometimes they were opera based, or they did gymnastics, or they did, you know, some other form of entertainment. They didn't do, you know, martial arts.
Now, you mentioned earlier that your life involvement in martial arts has always been traditional Chinese martial arts. You were not a karate guy. You studied karate, but it's not where you started from.
Yeah, well, you know, I never considered myself a karate person. One of the fights I had actually hit a person, and the eye came out, and they actually had to go to the hospital. But it was they were able to you know, to fix it, to reattach it. But those were real brutal fights. Sometimes we think back, you know, and say, you know, I don't know why we be doing that to ourselves. But the further back you go, the more violent times are, period, you know, in history. So it was part of the violence. But I always thought it was constructive, because every fight that I did, I went in to learn from it. You know, I didn't really go in saying, I'm going to beat everybody, I'm going to win. No, I went to learn. So I learned several different disciplines. And I would choose a discipline. I said, no matter what happens, win or lose, I'm going to use just this, you know. And I'm taking a chance in my life. I mean, you know, maybe, you know, something I needed, I chose not to use might have helped me. But I said, no, I'm going to just win or lose. I'm going to do this. I'm going to test myself and let me know exactly where I am. And, you know, this is how traditional martial arts, you know, the approach to traditional martial arts helped me. Now, a lot of people today, they don't have the traditional background that I have, so that's why we're going to have a lot of, you know, hybrids, a lot of mixing, you know, of the arts.
And so in terms of your preferences, the purities, what are your number one or number two style that you really invested your life in?
Well, the style I started with in 1957, as a kid, my father was a colonel in the United States Army, so I'm an Army brat. So my father and mother split up. So I'm part-time traveling with my father, part-time I'm in Brooklyn. So that gave me a odd, you know, counterpoint. You know, does it, you know, I may have to use it tomorrow, because many people never have to fight. You know, I mean, they go to school, they train, in martial arts schools, but they don't have to, go home and fight. I literally saw people killed when I was a little kid growing up. By the time I went into the military, I was kind of already hardened a bit. I think of it like I see certain countries where people have wars, and I see kids walking around dead bodies, and they achieve certain hardness to it. And I did that as well.
And so your first style was?
So 1957 is Praying Mantis under Choi Yin-Yi. And at that time, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what I was doing. I just did what he told me. I was a little kid. As time went on, I discovered that I was fortunate in that style ended up being the style that to this day I find to be my go-to style, my #1 style of practicing. Now, just because I'm a Kung Fu guy, I don't feel that everybody should be a Kung Fu guy. Everybody just have to find their life and their way around martial arts. But I know that the Praying Mantis style is 18 different styles. They mixed way back when, over 400 years ago. It is considered to be the original mixed martial art. We hear MMA today, mixed martial art. Praying Mantis is the original mixed martial art. So it pretty much has everything that you would need. So from that standpoint, I said, well, I'll just do this. The second style I practice is called Honga. Honga is a style that is the one that you see mostly in the movies, the Shaolin Temple. The 5 animals, the tiger, the leopard, the snake, the dragon, the crane. So that's the Honga style. And the reason why I practice the Honga style is because of the steadiness and the stability factor. So they're actually opposites. One is a long-range, stretching out, very fast style, the Praying Mantis. The other one is more of a kind of, short, stocky, digging in, rooted, powerful style.
You said Praying Mantis was 18 art, so and what you could refer to as a mixed martial art. When was it mixed and by who?
400 years ago, during the turmoils, the various turmoils of the Shaolin Temple, there was one monk named Wang Long. He, was like the worst student there. Everybody could beat him. So he traveled and left the temple, and he went to a different temple, Loshan. And there was no martial arts being taught there, just a Buddhist temple. And one day he saw a praying mantis, and he started to play around with this praying mantis with a stick. And he started to observe the praying mantis, what it did, in life, how it stood, how it would grab. And then he decided, hey, maybe I'll copy this. The Shaolin Temple, they got the tiger, leopard, snake, dragon, and crane. I'll play around this praying mantis. So that was the original praying mantis. And in fact, in Shantung, this is 400 years ago, they still have his statue. They have a statue of him to this day. It's still there. So everybody in the praying mantis style considers it like a Mecca. You make a pilgrimage to go visit that statue and take a picture in front of it. And so he created that style, but it wasn't, finished. It wasn't finessed. He went back to the Shaolin Temple and he challenged his brothers. And when he did that, he was able to do, extraordinary against them. So they said, wow, what's this? And he said, Praying Mantis. I invented it. So everybody's brothers liked him then. Nobody, they couldn't just beat him anymore. And they all contributed techniques from the 17 other styles to create today what we know as the Northern Praying Mantis.
You said Northern, there's a Southern Praying Mantis?
Right, we have 2 branches of Praying Mantis, mainly. The first one is from the north of China, that's from Shantung. The second is from the south of China. The Southern Mantis is not actually the Praying Mantis style. The Southern Praying Mantis is from an earlier Southern Fujian province system. Now, that part of China, and still to this day, is always at odds and at war with the government. So many things were outlawed. So in order for their art not to be outlawed, what they did was they changed the name. They called it Praying Mantis, because since Praying Mantis was accepted in the north, the emperor had Praying Mantis style bodyguards, so it was an accepted name. And even though it wasn't the same Praying Mantis, it acquired that name, and then later acquired a few techniques that would, connect it to the Praying Mantis, the insect.
One bit of trivia that I always thought was fascinating. Bruce Lee, of course, is famous for Jeet Kune Do. Yeah. But there's a mantis form called.
Okay, Jeet Kune Do is the name. Jeet Kune, which means intercepting fist, is actually the name of a mantis form. One thing about Bruce Lee is Bruce Lee had many teachers, and many really well-known, authentic teachers, at the time. One of his teachers, Siu Hong Sun, was a praying mantis master, and actually taught Bruce Lee some praying mantis, which some of Bruce Lee's early students will tell you that they actually learned some praying mantis from him. About I think 6-7 months ago, they were selling, you know, every now and then they sell Bruce Lee stuff, you know, because there's no new stuff, there's only what Bruce Lee had. So they'll sell his driver's license, you know, they'll sell, you know, whatever, his t-shirt, you know, whatever. And so somebody found a praying mantis book, an old praying mantis book, the same book that we look at today. We still have the same old books. And in that book was all of these notations that Bruce Lee wrote personally about how he used the praying mantis style.
But the form itself is called?
G-Krin, which is G-Krin, just means intercepting fist. You know, it's a conglomeration. Again, Bruce Lee is another, you know, one of the early fathers of mixed martial arts. He also believed in combining things. You know, he has his own reasons for doing it, but nevertheless, you know, he's the legend today.
You mentioned his reasons for doing it. There's, of course, a movie came out, I think it was late last year.
Right.
About
Birth of the Dragon.
Yes, about his encounter with Wong Jack Man.
Right.
And did you know him or knew of him?
Oh yeah, yes. Well, Wong Jack Man is one of the representatives of the Northern Shaolin style. The Northern Shaolin style is very famous from a teacher named Gu Chung. What he did, there's old pictures, and in the old pictures there's a stack of bricks. I think it's 12, 14 bricks. And you see a skinny guy that hits those bricks and they break all the way down. So that style became famous because of him. And Wong Jack Man was a representative of this style, you know, still is, you know. And so he, and many people disagreed with this mixing of martial arts, which Bruce Lee did. And so that was why this challenge was issued to, you know, to sort of teach this upstart, which was Bruce Lee at the time, you know, why would you do that? The traditional was the best, and you shouldn't, you know, you shouldn't deviate from that.
But you don't know anybody personally who was there who saw it? Because
yeah, some people that were there or that were there the next day or right after are very good friends of mine. And one of the people that was really good friend of Bruce Lee was Leo Fong, you know, and he's way in his 80s now. So this is one thing people have to realize, right? Remember, Bruce Lee would be weighing up in his upper 70s now, you know, right now if he was alive today. He wouldn't be a young guy, he'd be an old man right now. So always keep that in perspective. You know, the basic idea is that they fought, you know, and each side is going to try to make the other side look better, you see. So my understanding, and I'm around, you know, near that time, at the time, my understanding was that nobody really won. You know, it was sort of a draw. Everybody, you know, did what they did, and that was the end of it. Wong Jack Man was back to work the next day. I know that for a fact. And didn't look very much worse for the wear. But also, Bruce Lee, in his writings, he wrote in his notebook, after my fight with Wong Jack Man, I went back to reevaluate my training. That's his words, it's his own writing. So I meant that, you know, he had something to learn, he learned from that, which is what you're supposed to do as a martial artist.
Exactly. Again, the reason why I really seized every opportunity to talk to this brother is because he was in the inner circle long before I got into Chinese martial arts in 1972. It wasn't open to anybody who was not Chinese in 1968. But Carl was there in the late 60s because, again, as he said earlier, he spoke the language. So, and again, tell the story about, even though you spoke the language, it was kind of some abuses. I mean, the keys,
you know,
the keys.
I remember there was one particular school. It took me 1 year to get into the school. You know, 1 year, constantly going, ringing the bell. And I would yell up, you know, and this particular school was a Hung Gar school. And I wanted to learn this particular master. And I'll tell you why in a minute, but let me tell you how I got into the school. You know, I rang in the bell, and it's like the 4th floor or something. It's way up, you know, there's fire escapes there. And I'm yelling out, Hung Gar, you know, like, go away, you know, like that. So after like maybe the 4th or 5th day, I ring the bell, Hung Gar. They were looking at it, they just spit at me like that, you know. And I still went back. I said, nah, not gonna be deterred, not gonna be deterred. I'm still gonna go. And I just kept going back. And then one day, somebody let me in, you know. And it was like the old days. If somebody remembers when we were kids, if your parents lived on the top floor and you wanted to get in the house, they opened the window and they threw the key down to you. They wrapped it up in a napkin sometimes. Same thing with ice cream truck came. Ice cream truck came, they wrap it in a napkin, the money, throw it down, and you was hoping and busting throw change over the place so you get your ice cream. And it was the same thing at that Kungfu school. They throw the key down and you open up and you come up. Now, let me tell you about why I wanted to learn at that school. And that's really the important part. The person that I wanted to learn from was called in Chinatown the Red Pole Enforcer. Okay, that was his name. And I was like, man, what's this all about? And he was the guy. He had a red, staff, and it had characters on the front, the enforcer, on the characters, and he would go from. He was one of the collectors, for the Chinese mafia, So that means that they chose him, and when he came to your door, he came by himself. He didn't come with anybody. He didn't come with any guns. He came with just the red pole. That's all he did. When he knocked on the door, and they're already peepholes, right? He was like, oh, here's the money, whatever you want, whatever you need, And I remember they had gambling in Chinatown, Mahjong, they played the gamble a lot. And in one of the gambling, ads, they advertised in the Chinese newspaper, and they said security provided by the Red Pole Enforcer, So everybody knows nothing was going to go down, with the Red Pole Enforcer. And he was very, very tough, And me being an American coming to school, which you didn't take any Americans, it was really an honor to be able to get into school to learn from him. And what I mean by tough, people talk about, tough. No, what I mean is if you ask him, how does this work? Here's a move he shows you, whatever it is. How does it work? He'd actually do it on you, not show you how to do it. He'd do it, and you walking, so everybody had to take turns, getting stuff shown to them. Like, no, yesterday I did, you ask him how to do it now, because we all busted up, and it was just 100% all the time.
I know, and I think that you've told me stories how in your own life, you was in your neighborhood in Brooklyn, and somebody had a flyer up of Hung Guard. He had nothing to do with Hung Guard, and you had to.
Well, I want to suggest this though. In the old days, we had like these flyer wars or something, because people would put flyers up. Another martial arts school put a flyer, tear yours down, or put it over yours, even worse, put it right on top of yours, And there was a martial arts supply store in Chinatown called Barclay Dot, and a real big picture of Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee from the movie Return of the Dragon. And it was one of the iconic spots in Chinatown. Everybody remembered that place. So my flyer was always in there because they knew me. And people have told me, over the years, hey, I know you, I said, oh, you ever trained? No, but I love your flyers. I've collected your flyers over the years. I've got like 20 flyers, put them in a book, collectibles or whatever. And so many flyers, have people have seen my many flyers. So many times I've been issued challenges, and people say, oh, I want to fight you, I want to challenge, and I keep telling them, look, I'm easy to find. I got flyers like everywhere, So when I had the school in Harlem, which Warrington told you that's where they filmed The Last Dragon, when I had the school in Harlem, I had put out flyers every Thursday night, open sparring. It means anybody could come. No matter what style you were, no matter what you want, even if you just want to fight, come on, let's do it. And so every Thursday, we had people showing up, lining up to spar. No gloves, no nothing, we just sparred. I actually have some films of that. And a lot of what I'm saying right now actually have films. One day I'll have to put something together for documentary. But we had, in the beginning, many people would come, and then less and less people came, and then less and less people came. Because my students were all like me. We were street people, people from Harlem, people from the Bronx, people from Bed-Stuy. We were all fighters, we were all tough. So it was very interesting to see how the group of people that would come to fight, how it got smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, one particular fight, I thought was interesting. I fought this guy, and I could tell, I said, I don't think he's that good, and he was considered, like a well-known person. I don't want to put his name out there. But what I normally did, and everybody would tell you from the old days, I always started the fight with one hand behind my back. you know. And they said, oh, you trying to show us? I said, no, well, you know, if you're good, maybe take it out. You know what I'm saying? I got, you know, I'll use one hand until I need the other one. If I don't need it, I don't need it, you know. And so I fought this guy, and the whole fight, I just used one hand. I didn't even need the other hand, you know. And the students, they were like, you know, wow, I can't believe it. This guy's got a big name. He's fighting tournaments. He's this and that. And, you know, I said, well, you know, that's a lesson right there. You can't just go by names, you know. Some people can reduce. So, but the thing is that then when we were fighting, nearer to the end, almost by the end of the fight, I said, okay, my hand is tired from holding it so long. So I just went like this. You know, he shake my hand out, and then he looked like this, like, oh no, the other hand's coming out, you know. And all I did was just this. That's all I did. And I hit him, and it went all the way. Now, he had hit, like, I don't know how many times, but he didn't hit me. I stopped every hit. But I didn't hit him. I only just stopped. You know, I blocked it. So when I hit him, he went, oh, nice one. Nice one. You got me, brother. That's what he said. You know, that was it. He stopped. I said, all right, we good? We good. That was it. Then he went around telling everybody that he beat me up, you know, from that fight. And I said, what do you look like? He said, he had on shades. I said, tell him to take those shades off and look at his eye, and you'll see what happened. You know what I'm saying? You know, so that's the kind of thing you'll see, you know.
But I'm thinking about the time you went to this guy's school, and when you walked in.
Oh yeah, you know.
And everybody stepped forward.
Yeah, because you know, there was a flyer that I happened to see, and this flyer had a picture of my grandmaster on the flyer, you know. And so, you know, I'm like, oh, good, you know, I see a family person, you know, somebody who knows what we're doing, you know, I can talk to them, we can relate. And so I told him, I said, hey, who is this? You know, you related, you know who this is? And I told him, the guy said, you don't know what you're talking about. So he tells me, this is a picture of a famous Tai Chi master. That's what he told me. You know, I said, man, I'm family. I studied with this guy's son, you know? So I said, look, I'm going to come to your school, and I'm going to bring you literature. You know, I'm not challenging you, you just don't know. I'm just going to, and those days we had the Xerox, you had to go to the thing, you know, copy and 25 cents and all that. So I copied. I'm in a lot of magazines, I'm in a lot of newspapers. And I made copies of the history of this style. And so I went to his school, and it was a big class. So he was another teacher. This was the senior master, you know, and they had all these people in there, maybe about 20, 30 people. He stopped the class, and he starts yelling, oh, you trying to close my school down? Oh, you did it? You said, well, stop it. I said, listen, I just came to talk to this man and give him information, you know? And then he started saying, let me tell you something before you say anything else, okay? How many people you got here? 20, 30 people. Well, let me tell you something. I came here by myself. So I told him, just like that. So you know what that means? I don't worry about nothing. I'm not afraid of nobody or nothing, all right? You see, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I've been in the middle of it. I can tell you, Khe Sanh, North Vietnam, that's where the stuff was happening. I didn't know when they sent me until I got there. But the point is that, you know, that I learned over life. I said, you know, the fear is the last thing that's going to help you, you know. So you need to you know, do what you got to do. And then the other guy stepped in and said, no, we'll just, you know, we calmed it down, we brought it down, we talked. And now we're all friends. We're all friends.
Yeah, it's good you mentioned the military, because I know that there are martial artists who are health practitioners, there are martial artists who are sport practitioners, and there's martial arts street fighters. But finally, and the people I've met like yourself who are military, has a whole nother vibe. I'm thinking about you, Reno Morales, people who, Ralph Mocho and Philip Redmond. If you've been in the military and you had to use it to save your life, because sometimes Philip Redmond told me that it was too close quarter, you couldn't shoot. You had to go hand in hand. That is when you know what your martial art can and cannot do.
The thing about the military is that the demilitarized the DMZ
in Korea.
The military does not give you a full-fledged martial arts course. These are the police department. That's why you see police fussing and fighting and doing all kinds of stuff, trying to, you know, not handling the situation in a professional manner. So all the people that were martial artists in the military, they were martial artists because they chose to do it on their own. They had that calling. For whatever reason, they were doing martial arts. So we had a very different approach and idea when we did martial arts, because we figured it's got to work. It's got to work. Now there's something you can look up, okay? And you know, everything I say here, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I can tell you, and you can check it out, and you say, wow, I didn't even heard of this. But if you Google the Paul Bunyan incident, okay, that's the Paul Bunyan incident. That happened on the DMZ, which is Korea, where, you know, Kim Jong-un, when he stepped across and shook the guy's hand, you know, and then, you know, Trump went over there to, you know, to do whatever. So the DMZ, demilitarized zone, is the area between North and South Korea. Okay? So we have all of our troops on the south side. They have all their troops on the north side, to this day still. And so there was a tree that was kind of blocking our vision from seeing across to the north side. So there's a space that's considered demilitarized. In other words, it's a buffer zone. You can walk in and, you know, nobody's supposed to attack you. It's not an act of war. You're not physically on the other side yet. So there's a space there. And so we were told to cut the tree down. That's why it's called the Paul Bunyan, because Paul Bunyan is about cutting down this tree. So we're told to cut the tree down. So we went over there to cut the tree down, and we're cutting the tree down. There's 4 enlisted men and 2 officers. And here comes a truck, you know, with like a pickup, like a back with old wood, you know, slats, real old kind of pickup truck. And all these guys jumped out with like machetes and pitchforks and started attacking us, you know, and they started attacking us. And so they killed the 2 officers, you know, and to this day, the 2 officers are the only names that I mentioned in that history. They never talk about the enlisted men. The enlisted men were me and guys that trained with me. And we fought. We didn't get killed because we know how to fight and defend ourselves, all right? And so, you know, one thing mistake the officers made, this has always been true, is that the enlisted men have usually been in service a lot longer. You got a, you know, staff sergeant, you know, 10, 15, 20 years, and, you know, first sergeant and so forth. So you'll see a lieutenant who's only been in the military for a couple of years. He's not going to know more about war, more about fighting than the guy who's been in the trenches, you see, but he's in charge. He's the officer, you know, he's the supervisor. So the supervisors, because they thought they were supervisors, they walked over, what do you do? Shot, right in the head, and they both died. And that's the historic record. And they never, like I said, what's funny about it, they say that, you know, they sent them over there to chop down this tree. And anybody knows anything about the military knows, was no officer chopping no tree down, okay? It was us, the enlisted men. We were the ones doing the work. They stand there and supervise, you know? But yeah, you know, the military, your whole idea about what your approach and what you're gonna have to do, I gotta use it. I gotta use it, so it's gotta work. And it's gotta work for real, not sport, not in fantasy land. It's gotta be something that's gonna save my life.
Because of the schedule, I have to cut this one short, so I have 5 minutes. If anybody wants to throw in a question before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Yes?
This is on Facebook. How can someone find a legitimate teacher if they want to practice Kung Fu, karate? What should they be looking for?
The question is, how can someone find a legitimate teacher if you're going to be a serious student?
Okay, I don't want to sound like everybody that answers this question, but really, research is what you have to do. Basically, if you're interested in styles, because we have computers today, you know, we can look up a lot of information about styles. So try to find out as much information that you can about what you're interested in learning, okay? Because just about any style that you could think of, there's a lot of information on it. And so when you think about a legitimate teacher, try to see if that coincides with what you researched, you know? If you saw, like, okay, for example, I know a guy who said he was teaching a Bagua, which is a circle walking, you know, the type of martial art. And so then he went to another guy, and the guy was teaching him something that wasn't Bagua. So he told me, he says, well, it doesn't really match up with what I researched. But I said, well, see, that's really what you need to do. You need to try to find out what matches. Because the guy was teaching him garbage. It was just some stuff that he just made up, you see. And that's really the key. Research the art first. Before even thinking about it, find a teacher and see if it matches up with what you know about the martial art that you've chosen. Okay, anybody else?
Yes, go right ahead.
I now have a son that's 7, and he started martial arts like a month ago, Taekwondo.
Yes.
And my husband and I focus on disciplining him, opposed to the actual art. And he likes it a lot. He really enjoys it well the time. Should I go another route, or when he completes this, should it be like another martial art form he should go for?
Are you in a contract for a certain amount of time?
Yes, for a duration of 7 months.
Right. Okay. So, and your son is 7?
7 years.
He's 7. Okay. So, what I suggest that you do is, and I tell everybody this, you know, if you're not happy with the program that you're in, you know, and in the old days you didn't have contracts, you know, you just, you know, you did it, and if you didn't like it, you did something else. But if you're not happy with the program, start looking now at other programs, you see, and then this way, by the time that program is up, and you say, no, I think it's better suited here, because he's only 7, so, you know, he's very, you know, flexible to you know, where you send him. So it doesn't have to even be a different style, you know, it could be the same style, it could just be a different teacher. So sometimes the programming is, you know, they're not, as you said, you know, they're not really disciplining the children properly. And by disciplining, you know, you can't be mean to the kids, you know, do this. But there's a certain, you know, I find like as you teach children, you know, they are more you know, accepting of this sort of martial art training, you know. And if you know, teach them a certain way, they'll just follow and fall in line. You know, you don't have to be that, you know, you'll be over about it. You know, but I think that's really the best thing for you to do. You know, start looking at other programs. You know, start doing some research about other things, and you might say, oh, I think my son might be, you know, I want him to maybe try this. I want to try. You know, it's fine. It's fine if you even change the style or change the teacher. It's fine, because martial arts is a journey. It's a road. You see, and that's for everybody. So even if somebody started doing martial arts as a child, quite often by the time they get older, they changed, you know, anyway, if they continue to do martial arts. So it's fine if you do change.
And actually, that's a good segue, because this topic was master's journey. Your journey now is 60 years and counting.
Yeah, 60 years and counting. Still here.
And so it tells us as people interested in martial arts, that it's something that's very deep, multifaceted. It can engage you intellectually, physically, spiritually, and so that's why people all around the world do this martial arts.
I like to add just one other thing, is that when you learn martial arts, they teach you these forms. You know, they call them katas, they call them forms, they call them whatever they call them. And I happen to know a lot of them. One time I knew over 300 forms. And a lot of people would tell me, oh, why do you know so much? It's too much, you know? And I tell them, well, don't learn them, you know? You do what you want to do. I mean, that's my journey, you see? But one thing that is interesting, there'll be people that tell you that don't learn any forms, they're useless. But, you know, I'm 66 now, and I can tell you my memory is very sharp. And part of it is because I'm using it, you know? I'm using it. And I memorize these forms, and I'm doing. Everybody tells you today to try to stave off dementia, Alzheimer's, and things, which is a big issue. You have to use your mind. They tell people that, you know, play computer games, do whatever. So martial arts and remembering these forms and techniques and moves, and that works your brain. You know, so martial arts really is as much a mental exercise as it is a physical exercise.
So would you send out to our viewers from martial art community at 30,000 around the world?
Martial art community?
Yes.
You know, you can always see me on Facebook. Look at my YouTube page to see some historical footage. It's bedside Sifu. And you'll see stuff not just of me, but of old masters. And also just get a sense of how it was, you know, sometimes 20, 30, 40, even more years ago.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you for listening. Thank you.